He is known as the hidden genius behind many of the biggest names in the fitness industry, including top celebrity personal trainers featured on popular television shows and networks, along with being featured as the host and expert on Spike TV's Gym Rescue. An immigrant from a communist country turned hugely successful entrepreneur, he uses the stage to share his personal American dream immigrant edge story as he imparts his passion for entrepreneurial spirit while empowering the audiences worldwide to strive for massive success. His sales, marketing, and business systems are of the secret weapons used by thousands of successful entrepreneurs and business worldwide who want to reach more high-paying clients and customers without the use of unpredictable or dead-end marketing tactics. In addition to creating popular brands and businesses throughout his business industry, he's also the founder and CEO of the fastest-growing fitness franchise in the world, Fit Body Bootcamp, and also the fitness industry's leading consultant for marketing, branding, business systems, and development. His blogs, products, books, and live events help tens of thousands of fitness professionals and business entrepreneurs around the world build more robust and profitable businesses. With great pleasure, I want to welcome to the show the hidden genius, Bedros.
Hey, Matthew, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Bedros. You've been around this industry for so many years. You're like an icon, more like a legend in the fitness industry from what you've done. And tell us a bit about your story, Bedros, because it's kind of interesting and inspiring from where you came from to where you are today.
Yeah. So I'll summarize it by really telling you that I'm the immigrant edge and the American dream. And what I mean by that is that I come from a communist country. I was 6 years old when my father decided to create a little plan to escape communist Russia. And I had no idea where we were coming to, but him being a communist member and not liking the communist regime, not liking the way they conducted business, if you will. You had no freedom, you had no opportunity, and every time you made a move, the man was kind of looking at you and trying to figure out what you were doing and why you're doing it, and if they can put you to jail for it. And so we escaped communist Russia in 1980. I was 6 years old. We came to the United States, and we got here. We were poor, broke. We had no money. It's a family of five, and talk about being rudely awakened to knowing that you're in a free country, but you don't speak the language, you don't know anybody, and you don't know your way around to take advantage of the freedom the country has. And so the next 3 years were spent literally getting a crash course on how to live in the United States. And so my parents both worked multiple jobs, making less than minimum wage. My brother and sister, who are older than me, had several jobs each, and my job was to be the breadwinner. And you're like, well, wait a minute, how can a kid at the age of 6, 7, 8 be the breadwinner? It was actually pretty simple. My dad and my brother found a dumpster in the back of a grocery store. And as you can imagine, grocery stores throw away foods that have expired but aren't necessarily bad yet. Or maybe foods that are have gone quasi-rotten or have some mold growing on it, but that mold can be picked off and the bread or the cheese can be eaten. And so it was my job. My folks would push me into the back of the dumpster, kind of give me a boost and lift me up. And for me, it was a treasure hunt. And so I would go through and find the milk and bread and lettuce and cabbage and tomatoes and eggs. And we would make food and we would eat this stuff. And my mom would pluck off the little sprouted bread. So I suppose you can say that it was a little rough beginning, and it was quite the learning curve. And as we learned the language, we figured out that we do have opportunity. And the harder my parents worked, the luckier they got. And so they just raised me with the mindset of, now that you're in a free country, as long as you can find a way to add value and help people, the amount of money you can make is limitless. And so foolishly, I believed that when my father told me that. He kind of brainwashed me with that. It wasn't just one time. He would constantly say, I took the risk to bring you guys here so that you can become anything you want, so long as you add value and help people. Like, he knew that was the formula. And it worked. So I guess I was foolish enough to believe him. And today I am the American dream. I own 4 different companies, and I'm on the board of 17 different companies. Many of them are doing multiple 7 figures, and some of them are doing 8 figures. And I can't believe the life that I have.
Wow. But you also, I noticed one thing on your story as well is before you became a high level coach, you also owned businesses before in the fitness industry, which makes you very unique. Can you explain a bit about that as well, Bedros?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, during my journey growing up here in the States, when you're poor, you're not eating the highest quality of food, right? So it was, really bad peanut butter, government cheese, bologna, white bread, very, very refined white bread, I should say, and, a lot of sugar, right? Things that aren't the best for you. And of course, my parents had to have a roof over our head. The
Yeah.
last thing they were worried about is, put the kid into sport and let him be active. And so if you're eating all this junk and you're inactive, well, you find yourself becoming a really fat kid. And by the time 10th grade came in high school, I was 35 pounds overweight.
Wow.
And I knew that within a couple years, prom was coming up. And I really wanted to go to prom. I'd heard about prom. I knew the girl that I wanted to ask out to the prom. And so the summer after 10th grade, I decided that I'm going to buy a muscle magazine and I'm going to ask the football jocks, who some of them were in my science class with me. So I had made friends with them that way, to teach me how to exercise, and the magazines would teach me how to eat right. And believe it or not, in that summer, I lost 30 pounds. And dude, I came back to school for 11th grade as a new person, and all of a sudden people were paying attention to me. Now, I hadn't changed. I certainly didn't become more intelligent. I hadn't become more witty. I didn't find it wasn't like I had this amazing way of connecting with people all of a sudden. It was just the outside package had changed, and so I was no longer invisible to people. And so I realized how much of an impact both on the outside world your outside package has,
Hmm.
and how confident you feel once you're in great shape and you're athletic and you're healthy. My confidence just went through the roof. And so I said, man, I don't know what I want to be when I leave high school, but I can tell you it's not a smog technician. Because up until that point, I wanted to be a smog technician, where here in California, I don't know if they have smog laws there in Canada, but here in California specifically, if your car produces a lot of smog and pollution, it can't be on the road. They have to
Right.
take it off the road, right? And so they have all these garages, and the guy will stick a probe in the tailpipe and punch the numbers, and tell you your car is a gross polluter and that you have to fix it or get fined or whatever. And I loved cars as a kid, and so I figured that's what I want to do. Well, lo and behold, once I was bit by this fitness bug, I knew right away that I wanted to help people do what I did, just make this transformation. And so I decided I'm going to be a personal trainer. And here's where it gets entertaining, because now I get out of high school, I go to college, university to get a degree in exercise science, and I realize this isn't made for me. I'm not made to go to college. I'm not understanding. I'm not connecting. I don't want to be there. I don't understand why I have to take all these prerequisites of history and English and so on. I had to learn English the proper way so that I can become a citizen. Like I didn't need to learn English or
Yeah.
American history. I had to learn that stuff to become a citizen,
Wow.
because people born here don't have to know American history. I do, right? And so, I kept telling my counselor, I said, listen, I want to take the same amount of units, but I'd rather take it in exercise science, nutrition, the physiology, rather than mathematics and history. They said, well, it doesn't work that way. So I said, well, I'm dropping out. See you later. And I went and I got certified as a personal trainer instead. And so now I'm a personal trainer. And I go, all right, I need clients. And I started asking people. And I thought, because I'm in shape and because I'm certified, I can get clients. And lo and behold, nobody wanted to work out with me. I didn't understand marketing or selling. And so anyway, I was a fry cook at Disneyland, and I was a bouncer at a gay bar, and a personal trainer with 3 clients who paid me $11 an hour each. I know it's ridiculous, but I would have trained them for free, to be honest with you. But I had those 2 other
Wow.
side jobs to make ends meet. And so that led to ultimately meeting a client who kind of took mercy on me, Matt. And
Wow.
one day when when he bought personal training from me, and the next day when we're working out, he goes, you didn't sell me personal training. His name is Jim Franco. I said, Jim, what do you mean I didn't sell you? You bought 6 months of personal training
Yeah.
3 times a year. I sold you personal training. He goes, no, no, no. You're an order taker. You just took my order. And that was like getting stabbed in the heart, but he was right. I was
Wow.
simply there, and I took an order. And so he handed me a Tom Hopkins tape Tom Hopkins teaches real estate sales. But he says, anywhere that Tom Hopkins says real estate, just replace it with personal training in your head. I said, yes, sir. So Tom Hopkins leads to Brian Tracy to Zig Ziglar, before you know it, Dan Kennedy, Jay Abraham, Tony Robbins, and I'm learning sales, marketing, persuasion, self-improvement. And in the next 3 years, I had 5 personal training studios opened up in San Diego, and I was rocking it because I understood marketing and not just being a good personal trainer. I understood how to build my brand. I understand how to communicate a message. I understand how to everyone else was selling personal training. If you're a personal trainer, you're selling personal training. I was a personal trainer that was selling an outcome. Mrs. Jones doesn't want the personal training, man. She wants the outcome, the results, right? And so, man, I started rocking and rolling. Before you know it, I got offered by a company to buy out my 5 locations. Yeah. And so I sold them. And it was right around 2002 that I got into coaching and consulting personal trainers who wanted to do what I had done.
Wow. Now, how old were you back then, Bedros, when you sold everything out?
31.
That's impressive. Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, wow. I got lucky. I got to tell you that I got lucky not when I sold, but when I was approached by the people who bought. Okay. It was a small boutique gym chain that was opening up throughout San Diego, and they just wanted to gobble up their smaller competition, and they had a big injection of money. Now, the reason they bought my locations, I later found out, was because I had my clients on a contract on EFT, right? Wow. So they were buying my receivables. They weren't just buying my business, because if I had just sold clients on a monthly program, well, next month maybe the business makes $0. Right. But because there was 12 months of receivables scheduled to come in, they were really buying my business and the income that was scheduled to come in. And so I really scored there, and I'm fortunate for that. And I decided to coach and consult trainers from there.
So one thing I noticed, though, in the very beginning, which is kind of inspiring, Bedros, is you talked about, it was in your bio, I forget where I read this a while back, where you struggled in the very beginning, though. You know, you actually lost some money when you first started. You know, this is what people struggle with all the time, right? So how did you overcome that? Yeah. In fact,
before opening up the personal training studios, I, again, remember the internet bubble burst in 2000?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I was on the other side of the burst, where before I started my personal training studios, I said, man, this internet thing is going to be pretty hot. It was 1997. And I knew that I'm logging on and I can connect with people outside of my community. And at the time, AOL, America Online, let you search, you know, so in your profile, in your America Online profile, if you had personal trainer or fitness or weightlifting, bodybuilding, I could search men in whatever, you know, Newark, New Jersey, and find guys who are into bodybuilding. So I started an online supplement business. I said, instead of having a storefront where I can only help my city and sell to my city, I'll just put supplements in my spare bedroom and sell it online. I had a website and I was accepting payments, but there was no Google at the time. There was no sophisticated shopping cart platforms. And so once again, now here's where the expiration of food comes to bite me in the ass, because when I used to be able to dumpster dive and buy and find expired food and eat it, this time the supplements were expiring faster than I could sell them.
Okay.
Dude, so I had to keep throwing them. Now I'm the guy throwing stuff into the dumpster, right? And you can only charge up your credit cards for so long before your credit cards get maxed out. And so that was my first business that I charged up my credit cards to $55,000. I mean, I did sell some supplements, but I never once made a profit. And after charging them up, my 2 credit cards to $55,000 and getting evicted out of my apartment, that was it. My supplement business was gone and I was broke. And the way I rebounded from that was, and the whole time I kept doing personal training. That's what paid the bills, right? At a big box gym. And so my clients, you know what's great about being a personal trainer too is most trainers don't realize your clients are probably affluent. They do well, or they're married to someone who does well. And so if you ask the right questions before the session, after the session, you might get a little free coaching here and there, right? And so, you know, I was just kind of, woe is me. I was telling a client, like, man, you know, I charged up my 2 credit cards and I'm getting evicted. I got a place to live, but this sucks. I'm in debt. I don't want to file bankruptcy, so I have to pay the $55,000 off, but I got 3 jobs. I hardly make any money. And he goes, oh, no. He goes, in business, that's just called testing. I go, what do you mean? Oh, you tested something out and it didn't work. And so now you know not to launch an online business that sells supplements.
Wow.
It was a perspective shift, right? And so it's a reframe. And that was the first, I didn't know what the word reframe meant then, Matt.
Wow.
But I realized that if you reframe something, I didn't fail. I tested something and I got a conclusive result. And the result was that this method didn't work. That doesn't mean business doesn't work.
So are you saying, Bedros, that the reframing was a strategy that turned everything around for you?
Yes, sir. Till this day, I reframe things. Till this day, if there's you show me a tragedy in my life, and I will find a way to reframe it, where I could see the silver lining.
Huh. That's
and
impressive.
Yeah. My friend Lewis House has a term in his book, School of Greatness. I have his book right here. Let me just plug Lewis there for you. Have you read this book, by the way?
I haven't, not yet. No, I haven't.
Okay. School of Greatness. Great book, Lewis House. Great podcast. Very much like yours. But he has this phrase in his book that he talks about the adversity advantage, right? And I'm a big believer in that. Anytime you hit the suck factor in life, you could either go, woe is me, I lost 55,000, I better go find a job and abandon this dream of being an entrepreneur, or you reframe it and you go, man, what a great lesson. Now I know what doesn't work. Let me try something else.
I love it. So would you say the reframing is probably one thing that was your contributor right now toward your success as well? Because you've gone from coaching now to almost coaching not just personal training, entrepreneurs, but now business owners of large companies, Bedros. Like you're doing a whole, element of next level stuff right now. So is that reframing kind of part of your conditioning as of everything right now that you do?
Absolutely. So today, as I coach and consult businesses outside of the fitness world, businesses that are doing 5, 10, 20 million and want to get to 50 to 200 million a year, reframing and time collapsing are the two things we focus on. And time collapsing is just how does Matt take his business from where he is today to where he wants to go in the shortest amount of time. Typically, that's the solution to collapsing time is people and money. You get the right people, or you get enough injection of money to solve the problems you need to buy the speed that you want.
To get the return that you need.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very powerful. Okay, interesting. Let's go into the personal training side for a second there, Bedros, because obviously you've been in your industry thing for so many years, and diving into that, the realm of really starting a business in that arena and what you've been teaching people for so many years. I want to dive into what would you say is the main contributor to the number one thing you would say that makes these companies successful, whether it's personal trainers, studios, gym owners? What is the number one thing that makes them successful?
The leader.
Oh.
The leader is number one. You could have a great leader and a mediocre product, and it will be successful. You can have a fantastic product and a horrible leader, and the product will always limp along at best. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Diving into something else I want to ask you about, because there's one thing that I noticed about you is you charge a lot of money for your consulting fees. And that's because you're so valuable at what you do. Now, how did you condition yourself over the years to have that ability to go into a company or consult with people and be like, here's my value, here's what I'm worth? Like, how did that self-worth come into play to that you condition yourself to do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Matt. And the reason that's a good question is coming from being very poor and eating out of dumpsters and, living in, I'm the kid that had lice so bad that my family, we couldn't afford lice treatment when I was 9 years old. And my mom had my dad siphon out gasoline from our car, and she washed my hair with gasoline to kill the lice. So that's just to give you an idea of how poor and broke we were, right?
Wow.
And so we had to choose between having water or electricity, and you always choose water over electricity because you need water, in case you're wondering, right? and so, people should never have to make that choice. And that was here in the States. That wasn't just for 1 month. That was for a couple of years. These choices had to be made because in the 80s, there wasn't all the different services that were available to foreigners and immigrants. And so I grew up being poor and broke, and I quickly began to adopt this mindset that money is for other people and not me. We always run out of money before we run out of time. Does that make sense? Before we run out of month?
Yeah.
Because I would hear that. It's like, my mom and dad had to budget out, man, the end of the month is coming. Do we pay our rent or do we pay water? Because if we pay for the water, but then we get evicted, we can't benefit from the water. If we pay rent, but we have to shut down the water, then maybe we can bring in water from the outside, which we have from a hose or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You start getting creative. My dad's jimmy rigged electricity from another building to our apartment. I mean, it's not something I'm proud of, but it had to get done. Wow. And so my experience with money, my attitude about money was money is scarce. Money comes to the rich. We're not one of them because we always have to run out of money before we run out of month. And so I had a very bad relationship with money. How I became to get over that was when I started realizing, when I switched over from 60-minute personal training sessions, this was in 2001, 60-minute personal training sessions to 30-minute training sessions. I had a feeling, you're a personal trainer, you know this, every now and again when you're talking to when you're training a client, 1 hour session, you realize maybe 20 minutes of it might have been a good therapy session for just chit chat, right? Mm-hmm. And so I said, what if, now again, if the client, most of my clients, I imagine most training clients just want fat loss. They want to, lose large amounts of weight and fit into their skinny jeans or skinny clothes. And so it wasn't like, someone's got an L4, L5 fused and they're coming to me for some kind of corrective exercise. Those people I would train for an hour when we had them. But the majority of the people, I realized I can just get rid of the chit chat and have compound exercises, stack them where really even their rest period is an active rest period. In other words, if they're resting in between sets, rather than talking my ear off and buying an extra minute or two of rest, which most clients do, I have them in a plank position. I have them seated against a wall for rest, right? Yeah. And so all of a sudden, we were getting 30-minute workouts. In the 30-minute workout, we were getting 60-minute results. And I realized people kept telling me, hey, this is fantastic. Some people were like, I would pay more for this. Again, these are affluent people. Time is money for them. They're getting 60-minute results in 30 minutes, and they're telling me I would pay more for this. And here I was, hey, since I'm only giving you 30 minutes, but I'm giving you the same results, is it okay if I charge you the same? And they're saying, no, I would pay more.
Wow.
Because now I can go out and make more money, spend more time with my family, whatever. And so that's when I realized the money is not connected to time. Money is connected to results and outcome, right?
Totally.
And as I got better at creating results and outcome for my coaching clients, you hire some other coach who may be not as well-versed at building an empire, building a business, building a personal training studio, gym, boot camp, whatever, online business, whatever. It might take them 2 years of trial and error to get you to your first $100,000, right? Well, what if I can get you there in 90 days? How much is that worth to you?
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
And if I can get you there in 90 days, I deserve 10x the money.
So now what about the psychology shift that you put into your mindset, like when you're asking for that amount of money, for example, going from $1,000 fee to all of a sudden a $5,000 fee? That's obviously a psychological thing as well. What's a shift that you took in that process, Bedros?
It was a slow shift. It wasn't like a gear change. Does that make sense? So
Makes
I can't really. I wish, Mathew, I could tell you it was this one thing, but it was no clunk and then it happened. It was a
process.
Over years.
Okay.
Yes. You get it?
Is there anything you did along the way though that you, like, for example, like conditioning techniques you did or books you've read or things you did specifically that kind of helped with that shifting process?
Yeah, I'll tell you the biggest thing was, man, I learned to love myself. And this sounds so woo-woo. And if you know anything about me, I'm far from woo-woo. I don't go around hugging trees and meditating. That's not me. I don't meditate. I wake up, and Craig Ballantyne, who you probably know of, was like, dude, you got to meditate. Like, he's the perfect day formula guy, right? He's my business partner and a dear friend. I said, Craig, I tried it. It didn't work. The voices in my head won't let me. I just want to get up and punch through walls like I normally do. Yeah. So I said, but I know what I'll do. For me, while I'm showering, I'm looking out the window, looking at the beautiful outdoors, and I think in my head, I'm grateful for three things that I've got going on. That I woke up, that I've got a beautiful backyard, and that I can hear my dog barking in the background, and I love that dog to pieces. Three people that I'm thankful for and grateful for, and then three people who I will text message once I get out of the shower and get dressed and send them a puff up or a kind of build their self-esteem up text message, right?
Nice.
Because most people don't get that. So that takes me like all but 2 minutes in the shower and I'm good. And so it took a long time for me to be able to start learning to accept compliments. So here's what I'll tell you. If you're the type of person that has a hard time accepting compliments, someone starts complimenting you for, wow, that was a great lift, or wow, you look amazing in your clothes, or wow, that was a great way that you articulated yourself. If you're the type of person that instead of saying, thank you so much, I spent a lot of time and effort and energy perfecting that, rather than saying that, if you say, you start deflecting and changing the subject, then you probably have a self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence issue.
Gotcha.
So then I say start working on that. And I noticed that about myself, and I'll be very transparent with you. I learned that through a book called The Body Keeps the Score.
The Body Keeps the Score. Okay.
Yes, yeah. And so the book has to do with people who have experienced, who are experiencing PTSD. So, our warriors, our soldiers that are coming back from war, right? They've experienced PTSD. Maybe they were in a Humvee and the Humvee blew up and they were the driver. They only lost a leg, but their friend was dead, right? Now they feel like, had they seen that roadside bomb, and what could have happened had they seen it? Or why didn't they die and their friend lived? Since they were the one driving, they had the control. Wow. Or somebody who has been raped or molested feels shame, rage, and confusion, right? Why did this happen to me? Did I somehow invite this rape or molest? So I've transcended from just marketing and selling and personal growth to dealing with trauma. Because I realize 1 out of 4 people come to you and me with trauma, even personal training clients. They've been physically abused. I had a client who runs a $10 million business right now. And our biggest breakthrough came when he admitted that when he was 8 years old, he comes from a wealthy family. They showed horses. So they would put horses in these trailers and take them to these shows, and they would gallop so perfectly and jump over right? When his horses won, got all the blue ribbons, he would ride in the passenger seat of the truck. If even one horse lost, his dad would put him in the horse trailer in the hay that's filled with shit and piss.
Wow.
And because he wasn't worthy to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, now, totally.
Does that affect his business and self-worth? Absolutely. So it wasn't marketing, it wasn't his team, it wasn't his product and service. He was a leader who was hitting his upper limits, right? And 10 million was his upper limit. Today he's doing 14 million a year after 2 years now, right? He went to 12 and then 14. We've upped him to 2 million more in his industry. And it's because he has greater self-worth. What dad did to him did not set the standard to who he is. Does that make sense?
Totally. That's powerful.
Yeah. So I started in that process. I started realizing, oh, you know what? When people compliment me, because the book says when people compliment you, if you don't know how to take a compliment, then there's probably some kind of self-hate or self-deprecation. And if you hate yourself or don't value yourself, you can't charge what you should.
Right.
So I just started working on that. One of the simplest things is I love myself. I walk around saying, I love myself. I love myself. I don't walk down the street going to Starbucks saying that, but I'll just say it. And you see the reaction that you're having there, how you're laughing?
Totally.
When you can't help but having that goofy smile and laughter when you're saying, I love myself. I love myself.
Totally.
You start laughing. The chemistry, Tony Robbins says it, if you can change your state, you can change your outcome.
Totally.
My state begins to change. I believe that I actually do love myself, and I believe that I am the superhero with the magical power of transforming businesses in a short amount of time. And by God, I have to command the most amount of money because the more I charge, the more compliant client that I get.
That is a very, very good description, but probably the best I've ever heard before, actually, in any interview I've ever had before. So that's very good, Bedros. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, in regards to you being as busy as you are, running as with consulting, coaching, speaking, being an advisor, how do you manage all this stuff? What is your routine like in the morning? What do you, you get up, you punch walls, and you get out the door, right? Tell yourself you love yourself in the shower and go.
Exactly. You nailed it. No. So one, it helps having a great team. So as you can imagine, you were working with Joan to set up this podcast.
Yeah.
And Joan manages my schedule to the T. Like right before this, I was working out. When I came in, she already had podcast set up, and I have no doubt that she probably checked in with you to make sure everything works so that you and I didn't run into technical glitches. Because as soon as we're done, I've got a lunch meeting with the client, and then from there, I got another thing I've got to do. And so my schedule is very tight, and I've got good people around me who double and triple check that there's no technical errors that's going to make us hang up, call again, reschedule, and all that stuff. If it wasn't going to work, Joan would have known, and by the time I got here to the HQ, she would have said, hey, I was rescheduled with Matt because we had an internet issue or whatever, right?
Got it.
So, and you probably experienced that firsthand, I'm sure, with her call. So, but it all starts with going back to Craig and his Perfect Day Formula book and him being a business partner and a friend of mine. His disciplined and structured ways, I call him the most disciplined man on the planet, and he really is. So I no longer, here's how nutty it is. I eat dinner at 5 o'clock. I don't go to sleep bloated at midnight like I used to. I go to sleep at 10:30, and my dinner was at 5 o'clock, so I'm done eating at 6 o'clock, so I have all this time to digest.
Yep.
I have a routine where my wife and I will go into the hot tub right before bed to calm down. My phone is turned off, just like Craig suggests in his book, Perfect Day Formula. I feel like I'm a pitch man for all these guys. You gotta give money, right?
Yeah, you gotta get the books in the corner.
Yeah, you know what it is, dude. I'm just a good student. If I know someone's got knowledge, I'm not going to ask them why should I do it that way. I'll just do it and I'll trust the process. So when Craig, who I know is strictly disciplined, says here's how you ought to consider doing it, I don't go why. I just go yes sir, and I do it. And that's how I expect my clients to be. In fact, Craig is also a coaching client of mine because I'm time collapsing his success right now, and he's killing it with his Perfect Day coaching programs that he's doing. But anyway, so I don't go to sleep bloated, which means I sleep better at night. Before I go to bed, an hour before, I make my list of things to do on my iPhone. There's like literally the notes section.
Yeah.
The top 5 things.
Yeah.
In the order that's most important. So in the morning, when everyone else wakes up, they're trying to figure out what they should do. I already know the things I need to do. Joan's got my schedule already on Google Calendar. I wake up at 5 a.m. I never hit the snooze, because if I hit the snooze button, my subconscious mind is really choosing 10 more minutes of extra sleep over dominating my day, dominating my life, right? And so if my first decision of the day is to hit snooze and take a weak action, there's going to be a lot more weak actions throughout the day. So I'm very structured. Phone calls never come into my phone.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to show you something here, and to show you how ruthlessly structured one must be to be successful. And someone's going to go, well, don't you have any fun? And I'm going to say what Craig told me. Structure is freedom. So I don't know how well you can see this. Maybe, I don't know, whatever. But these are all numbers. I got 97 numbers up to this point on my phone that are blocked.
Wow.
They're blocked. It's right at the top there. You can see where it says blocked. And 97 numbers that are blocked. And these are people who, companies, businesses who somehow got my number. Some of them are coaching clients. I don't accept phone calls unless it's on my calendar. Because if I'm going through my list of things to do, or the list of things that Joan has on my schedule, my phone shouldn't ring and interrupt me.
That is powerful. Wow.
Very powerful. And so I have this little video that I created on YouTube, and it says I'm a control freak. But everyone thinks that being a control freak is bad. I reframed control freak. I'm a control king, right? And I want everybody to be a control king. I want to control my health, my wealth, my relationships, my business, my staff, my mindset, the input, the content that comes into my life, the friends I have. I want to control everything, because when you have control, you have structure. When you have structure, you have freedom. This means that I can surf 3 times a week because it's on my calendar, right?
Wow.
I can surf this week. I'm going snowboarding with my family tomorrow for 4 days to Mammoth because it's on my I'm structured to do that, and I won't have to break out my laptop and interrupt family time while I'm there, because I've already done the work ahead of time because it was on my calendar the days before.
Wow.
That's how disciplined one must be.
Bedros, are you actually planning them the week before? Like, are you taking an hour on a weekend and like planning the whole week with Joan or with yourself?
No, now it's gotten where I just do before I go to bed, I plan the 4 to 5 things I'm going to do in the morning.
Yep.
To move my business, my 5% rule that I talk about, my 5% that I'm going to do to move my business forward.
Yep.
And then Joan has gotten so good that she just knows how to crowd control the people and opportunities and things that come into my life. So, if she felt like a particular interview was going to be a waste, or they didn't have quite the following that we needed them to have, or they weren't an expert, she might have listened to some of their interviews and saw that it was just disjointed. Yep. She would just, no, thank you, he's not available, on to the next thing.
Gotcha.
So oftentimes I don't even see the opportunities that come to me, because Joan and Sean, my compliance officer here at Fit Body Bootcamp, are the human filters. And that's, now I've kind of worked up to that level, but before then, I would just sit there and I would take that hour or 2 a week, structure my week out with my wife, And so before
Wow.
Joan and Sean, it was me.
That is like a gem of wisdom. Thank you very much. But that's a gem of wisdom for our listeners, Bedros, and also for my own self. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, we have so much time and capabilities, but everyone always complains that, I just don't have time. If I had time, I could be richer, I could be healthier, I'd have a better relationship, I'd make more money. The
Wow.
reality is you have more time, but we just don't have enough discipline with our time.
Makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense. Let's hit our next top 5 questions here, the peak 5 questions, Bedros. We're going to hit those
Yes, sir.
here with rapid fire, buddy. So the first question is, who is someone in your life that has been a big influence, either a coach or a mentor in your life?
My very first mentor, and he was a personal training client, Jim Franco, the guy who handed me that cassette tape.
Wow. Okay. How many years ago was that?
Ooh, 21 years ago.
21. Wow.
Yeah, I'm 42 now, so I was a young, wet behind the ears personal trainer.
That's powerful. Number 2, what was the book that was most highly influential in your life to date?
Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil.
Ooh, that's a interesting book. Okay. I was
And
waiting.
I go ahead.
I was waiting for Think and Grow Rich, and I was like, "Oh, he changed it."
Yeah, and if anyone's gonna read Outwitting the Devil, I highly suggest they listen to it on audio, because the dialogue between Napoleon Hill, or the reader, and the devil, when you hear the devil's voice, it's a game changer. One must read it, but it will disturb you as you read this book. Fair warning.
Totally. Number 3, what is your most influential quote, or one maybe you have in your office right now that you look at?
Circumstance does not change responsibility.
Love it.
I've lived by that for 20 years now.
Number 4, Bedros, if you could tell your 20-year-old self, so you're 42, so 22 years ago, one lesson, what would that be?
Network more and find coaches sooner.
That's great advice. Very
And
good
it's really,
advice.
you're buying successes. You're buying speed.
Time collapse, right? Like you talk about.
Yeah.
Number 5, if there were no limits, what would you contribute to in the world today? No limits. What's that?
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. World peace.
And what's up for Bedros coming up here? Because you got quite a few things happening, Bedros. You got your business summit coming up here. You got programs launching. Like, what's happening with Bedros? Tell us more about what's happening.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that opportunity. We've got it on March 24th to the 26th in 2017. We've got the Fitness Business Summit in San Diego, California. We expect about 1,500 trainers from 18 countries to come. Last year, we had 1,200 trainers from 12 countries. And Fit Body Bootcamp, our international franchise, continues to grow, and we're on 4 continents, 9 countries. We were just voted Inc. 5000 list, top 5,000 fastest growing companies out of 18 million, which was pretty cool.
Congratulations, Bedros.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I'm currently writing a book for the mainstream market, and I've got a big time publisher, which is pretty nuts for me because I've always been this little guy in the fitness world. And the book is called Man Up, Find Your Passion and Dominate Your Path. And the book will be coming out spring of 2018.
2018. That'll be I'm looking forward to hearing that book. I'll have you back on about a year, Bedros, again, talk about that book.
I would love that opportunity, Matthew. I really would.
That'd be great. Any last words you want to share with listeners there, Bedros?
I just, if there was any last words, I would just say that time does seem to go by very quickly, and we don't want to live with regret. So if there's something on your mind that you want to do, there's a passion or purpose or gift that you know that you were set on this planet to accomplish, whatever's limiting you to getting there, just fucking do it, because nothing worse than being 50, 60, 70-year-old and looking back and having regret. I don't ever want that, and I don't want that for anyone that I ever meet.
Wow, inspiring. Guys, go follow Bedros, Fit Body Bootcamp. Go check out all his information, his books, his summit he has in San Diego. Is it Bedros?
Yes, sir.
Every year?
Every year.
Every year, guys. Check him out, guys. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And Bedros, thank you so much for your time. It was so appreciated to have you on the show and get you back on in 1 year from now when your book's going to be launching.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. I really appreciate this opportunity, Matthew.
Thanks, Bedros. Wishing you the best. And guys, make sure you follow Bedros. Wishing you the best. Thank you, Bedros. Appreciate that.
Thank you. See ya.